Now, let's be honest. These days, we're encouraged to adopt a more muted palette than that, right, for accessibility reasons, but the principle is still the same. Spencer-Sobczak tells us that contrasting colors differentiate among groups, whereas different shades of the same color can indicate the relative strength or weakness of a value. And then keep shaped graphical elements proportional to each other. Master statistician and Yale professor Edward Tufte advocate what he not exceeding what he calls the lie factor. And essentially it says that the size of your graphical elements when projected onto your page, okay, the different shapes that you're using, their size needs to be proportional to the quantities they represent, okay? As a mathematical equation, it's typically expressed this way. Take the size of the effect in your graphic divided by the size of the effect in your data, and it should never be greater than 1. Matter of fact, technically, a lot of people would think, well, you know, it should always be equal to 1, so you don't exceed Tufte's lie factor. Let me illustrate. Suppose that you wanted to create a graph showing all the tech support calls that came in for that store that you were building, you know, the example I gave you a few minutes ago. And you want to be really creative with your graph to show the number of tech support calls that came in. You're going to track it month by month. And so you make your little icons, the little bars that are representing the numbers of calls look like little wrenches, okay? Like this, for example. See that? Okay. Let's say that your first month you have 10 such tech support calls, and so you're going to make your wrench this big. Okay, everybody with me, right? All right. Suppose the following month you have 30 such support calls. Now, if you're not going to exceed Tufte's lie factor, if you had 30 support calls the following month, how much bigger should the next wrench be than this one? 3 times bigger, right? Something like this. Yeah? Okay, we good? Right, this one, okay, yeah, it's the closest thing I could come up with. Give me a break, all right? So this is about 3 times bigger, for the sake of the argument. So you are within Tufte's lie factor, okay? So 10 support calls the first month, 30 the next month. However, suppose that you are angry at these tech support calls and you cannot stand the fact that you're having so many tech support calls and you decide to make your wrench look like this. Ladies and gentlemen, you have just exceeded the lie factor. All right? You get the idea. That's how not to do it. Do not exceed the lie factor. Let me give you a real life example. In one of their iterative product releases for their new iPad model several years ago, Apple touted its greater battery efficiency over its predecessor. You know, a 17% increase in battery juice is pretty significant. You know, that's something you ought to tout. You know, you ever been in a conference or in a room where there's, 100 people and only 2 outlets? I mean, what's up with that? You know, you're looking for a plug and most of the time your iPad battery is going to last forever. But still, if it's an older one, to see a 17% increase, that's pretty significant. Okay? So yeah, you ought to tout it. But look at this graph. Okay? The battery icon on the right, representing the capacity of the new iPad model is, I don't know, that's like 3 times bigger than the one on the left representing this predecessor. Certainly way more than 17%. And as much as I like my iPad, I hate to tell you, but that graph's a little misleading. Okay, it's a little out of proportion. And then finally, always use the right tool for the right job. Okay? For instance, you wouldn't use a chainsaw to carve a turkey, would you? How about a sledgehammer to crack a walnut? Yeah, nah, you wouldn't do that. Well, unless you went to NC State. I mean, they do crazy things with agriculture. True. But, hey, look, the same thing applies with your data storytelling.